excessive use of nationwide injunctions to interfere with the normal functioning of the executive branch. The Supreme Court has stopped the presidency itself. That's what they've done. And really, it's been an amazing period of time this last hour. There are people elated all over the country. I've seen such happiness and spirit. Sometimes you don't see that, but this case is very important. I was elected on a historic mandate, but in recent months we've seen a handful of radical left judges effectively try to overrule the rightful powers of the president to stop the American people from getting the policies that they voted for in record numbers. It was a grave threat to democracy, frankly, and instead of merely ruling on the immediate cases before them, these judges have attempted to dictate the law for the entire nation. In practice, this meant that if any one of the nearly 700 federal judges disagreed with the policy of a duly elected president of the United States, he or she could block that policy from going into effect, or at least delay it for many years, tie it up in the court system. This was a colossal abuse of power which never occurred in American history.
Yeah, they said that to get ICE, Congress and other officials said to get ICE, immigration enforcement, out to conduct this event that they're conducting, taking back criminals who are illegal here and have broken the law in their state and in their country and this country, should be taken back, be removed from the United States corporation. Now, the Congress was like, "Oh, you gotta wait 4 years. 4 years, Trump is gonna be out of office." So you see, this is an inside job also. So Trump is dealing with Congress. These are the people with the black robe. So you see, they're on the top, and you see that they're like, we're not gonna do nothing. We're not gonna say nothing about no wars. We're not gonna say nothing about no illegal immigration. We just go with common law. Common law means the law that is right now, that the people in the community have decided on. So that's all they want to do. They do not want to take no action against Iran. They do not want to take no action against illegal immigrants. They do not want to take no action against any history, whitewashing or changing of anything. You know, look what we went through with history, the statues. They couldn't make a decision. So Trump is like, I need to take my country. I need to make my country great again. So he said, I'm going in there. I'm pushing this. I'm going to put this here, because he's a businessman. He's like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it on myself. And I don't give a damn what Congress says. Yet, but he's doing it. He's doing legal things. He's not doing illegal things. He's doing legal stuff. Now, internationally, I don't know what he's doing there, but domestically here in the United States corporation, he's following his oath of office.
Prior to recent decades, and we've been hit with more nationwide injunctions than were issued in the entire 20th century together. Think of it, more than the entire 20th century. Me. I'm grateful to the Supreme Court for stepping in and solving this very, very big and complex problem, and they've made it very simple. I want to thank Justice Barrett, who wrote the opinion brilliantly, as well as Chief Justice Roberts, and Justices Alito, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Thomas. Great people. Thanks for...
Yeah, so what we're looking at, it says like the 14th Amendment. This is birthright citizenship. The 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, Civil Rights, 1868, passed by Congress June 13, 1868, and ratified July 9, 1868. these commercial. 1860, the 14th Amendment. Hold on, please. We got mic check. The 14th Amendment extended liberties and rights granted by Bill of Rights to formally what? The 14th Amendment extended liberties and rights granted by the Bill of Rights to formerly enslaved people. Following the Civil War, Congress submitted to the state 3 amendments as part of its Reconstruction program to guarantee equal civil and legal rights to black citizens in the Confederate. Because my dad is an Aboriginal Indigenous Indian from Arkansas, which is not Arkansas. They didn't call it back then when his ancestors was around. And his grandfather, which is his dad, was a builder. He built many homes. He built homes for blacks, Spanish, Samoans, the Seminoles, those Buffalo Soldiers. He built for white people, for French people, he built for everybody, because they lived in the non-slave states that were in control by the Confederates. So they don't know about slavery on my dad's side. Now, back in the day, slavery was not something bad. It meant employment. But what was happening was that, like we see even to the present day, the people in the Confederate, they didn't like to pay people. They didn't like to pay people, and then they do their backstabbing because they're saying you're a property, they own you, so they could tell you where to go, where you can go, what state you could be in, what state you can be in. So they're a little bit more harsh on their slave laws. And a lot of people didn't like that. And the union did not like that because they could not compete. Because you're treating people right, you're paying on time. This guy is making products too, but they don't pay theirs, so they're making more money because they're not paying their slaves. And then when those slaves' time is up, because what they do is they kidnap people, or they pass a law. Oh, nobody can eat strawberries. Boom. They didn't tell nobody though. People were eating strawberries yesterday. Today they say no eating strawberries. They didn't even wait for the law to pass, like 10-day notice. Boom, they just go out there, start arresting everybody. Well, that's the new law. It passed yesterday. We gotta arrest you. You can't walk around jaywalking. You know, the Mann Act. You see, they just create laws. They create laws overnight, and then they start enforcing them. Start throwing everybody to. We need to build that dam. We need damp, or the water. Or we need to build that bridge. We need. Who could we find? Who could we get? The Confederates in the South did not play by the rules. They would just go out there. That's where the police came. They were KKK, Ku Klux Klan, and they pushed the policies, and they were called police. They were called something else too. They worked with the Democratic Party. So what did they do? They went around kidnapping people. You got a warrant. You didn't go to court. You didn't pay your bail. They put everything on you, and the Democrats still do it till today. So they were not my parent on my dad's side. They were not, and a lot of them didn't know about slavery, but they did tell me about not being able to say the word Indian. You couldn't say the word Indian. You had to say black, because that's what the character categorized you. And that was later on. That was later on that happened. I mean, that was way before. So you see here that the Democrats try to make it look like the whole United States had slaves. No, it was just and it even says it here. I don't know if this is the original, but it does say it here. All persons born or naturalized in the United States. You see, the United States was already formed. The corporation was already formed. And another equally important provision was the statement that nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Wow, California breaks that a lot. California does not follow that at all. Nor deny to any person with its jurisdiction the equal protection of the law. In democratic states, your life, liberty, and property is what? Taken away from you. Their life, we own your children, we own your kids. Liberty, you don't got that. You're a terrorist. No, you said something on social media, you can't go nowhere. You can't travel no more. We're banning your social media. Excuse me, could you please fire Sarah? Property. We see people's property going away each time. Look at all the black elderly people in New Jersey and New York and Chicago getting their property taken away from them. And going to court. And the judge is biased, getting paid under the table to take away black elderly women home that they paid for. Now, it already happened in California. They already took all the black people's home in California and gave it to the Hispanics, the illegal immigrants. So that's a lost case. Now they're doing it in Chicago because they got immigrants over there right now. So they're doing it in Chicago, they're doing it in New York, they're doing it in New Jersey, Arkansas, everywhere there's black people, they'll dump the illegal immigrants there, and then the real estate agents go to work. They start kicking out all the black people, start looking for places, house, and everything. It's sad. The right to due process of law and equal protection of the law now apply to both the federal and state government. See, that's why we're going through what we're going through right now. On June 16, 1866, the House Joint Resolution proposed the 14th Amendment to the Constitution was submitted to the states. On July 28, the 14th Amendment was declared. DJ's having problems today. In a certificate of the Secretary of State ratified by the necessary 28 of the 37 states. It was only 28 of the 37 states and became part of the supreme law of the land. So they were not all unionized yet. It was not a union yet. Congress John A. Bingham of Ohio, the primary author of the first section of the 14th Amendment, intended that the amendment also nationalized the Bill of Rights by making it binding upon the states. Too much reading here.
Cases happening across Wisconsin and the country. Good morning, Dan. Let's start with you explaining what the Supreme Court's decision regarding that nationwide injunctions in the Birthright Citizenship case really means.
Oh, sure. Good morning, Mallory. This is a really big deal. This was a decision that came down late last week from the Supreme Court. Basically, shortly after President Trump was sworn in January, he issued an executive order that ended birthright citizenship, saying babies born in the United States would not automatically be entitled to citizenship if their parents were in the U.S. either illegally or temporarily. Most people believe this violated the 14th Amendment, which says that all persons born or naturalized in the United States are subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens. So there were some lawsuits brought in federal district courts. Those are the trial level courts. And the order was indeed found unconstitutional. Now, those courts issued something called an injunction. That's a bar to enforcement of that order. And they did so kind of in a global fashion. They said anywhere in the U.S., this order cannot be enforced. The Trump administration appealed the issue of these broad nationwide injunctions, again, so-called universal injunctions, to the Supreme Court. And on Friday, the Supreme Court issued this really sweeping decision that said, you're right, Trump administration, these universal injunctions go way too far. These are not powers enjoyed by courts, trial-level courts. You can't do that. You can't essentially bar a law going forth nationwide. So this is a big change in our country, in our jurisprudence. Remarkably, what the court did not do is take on the real substantive issue of the birthright citizenship issue. That's still going to be litigated in the lower courts, but for right now, that's still a live issue. So how that goes and proceeds something we're going to have to track going forward.
Yeah, we'll keep our eye on that. Meantime, the Wisconsin Supreme Court denied a request to revisit the state's congressional maps. Do we have an explanation for their decision?
Right, so this was a big issue in the campaign with Susan Crawford and Brad Schimmel. There was national groups saying that, the Wisconsin Supreme Court could unlock a liberal majority in Congress because they will revisit these congressional maps, stop some of the gerrymandering, and potentially there could be 2 more Democrats elected out of the state of Wisconsin. That was a big deal during that Supreme Court race. Well, judicial elections don't always track with reality because the Supreme Court of Wisconsin basically denied an original petition. That's a petition for the lawsuit to go straight to the Supreme Court. They denied that without an explanation. They basically just wrote a one letter
I was like, what's he talking about?
Saying,
that's very important.
This issue during this term, so it's
this is very important what they do. Oh my God. TikTok was acting up last time. I hope it's not as acting right today. Yeah, so birthright citizenship, it is not the illegal immigrants' fault because they were lied to. Remember, they don't even speak English.
I can't believe that we are asking the question, is the 14th Amendment to the Constitution constitutional? That is what is crazy. And I'm sorry, but people need to call, this is crazy. They're asking us not to believe our own eyes and our own ears. They're asking us to go against everything that we know to be true. This is insane.
What happened?
I'm sorry, I can't believe that we are asking the question, is the 14th Amendment to the Constitution constitutional? That is what is crazy. And I'm sorry, but people need to call, this is crazy. They are asking.
Damn, this stuff's not responding. TikTok, it doesn't work right on, oh man, it's ridiculous. He said 45th and 47th. The golden age of America. Facts, critical thinking. Yeah, so it says here that deportation needs to start here. They said Trump's ex-wife, immigrant, anchor baby. They're Israeli. These are Israelis. His immigrant, anchor baby. Wow. The woman first voted was for Trump in 2024 and says it's the best decision she's ever made because she's not tired of winning. Let's see what she got to say. I don't know what the hell's going on with
Birthright Citizenship, right? And let me just when I tell you
TikTok's just acting weird.
The first time I ever voted was for President Trump this past election. I feel like one of the best decisions I ever made. Like, are you guys tired of winning yet? Because I am not. I am not tired. So as you know,
he's gonna give us
right? And let me just speak on it to the people that don't really understand. Birthright citizenship was set in place to slaves that were brought to this country against their will. It was not for the illegal immigrants that broke the law to come here pregnant and then give birth and then now you're a citizen. That's not what it was about. So, birthright citizenship has been being abused.
Where are the lawyers?
Pregnant or get pregnant, and as long as they push out a baby on American soil, that means that they're Americans. And I just love that is no longer. Ain't no better time to be a proud patriot than right now.
It says here, only a complete moron would read the 14th Amendment and come to the conclusion that all one needs to do to become a citizen is to be born on. Ooh. Wow. Well, let's read it. Didn't we read it? Did we read it? We just read it, right? Birthright Citizenship from the American Immigration Council. You know damn well they're lying. Let's see what they wrote. Birthright citizenship is a legal principle under which citizenship is automatically granted to individuals upon birth. There are two forms of birth citizenship: ancestral-based citizenship and birthplace-based citizenship. Birthplace-based citizenship, which grants citizenship, is based on the place of birth. Okay, for example, okay, like in life, you're gonna receive stuff like this from the parking enforcement, from your local city, from your HOA, from your city, from your police officer, you get a ticket. They're gonna throw this stuff at you like this. You're gonna see this right here, you're gonna read it, and then you're gonna get all scared and pee in your pants and then cry, only to understand that they have twisted and changed a lot of stuff. Right here, they're talking about citizenship, but they do not talk about where it came from, what the nature of it was, what the cause of it was. They basically just took the law and then put it in their own words to fit their special interest, which grants citizenship based on place of birth is formally referred to as jus soli, a Latin term meaning in the United States, birthright citizenship is guaranteed by the 14th Amendment to the Constitution. Specifically, it states that all persons born or natural in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States. You see that? You saw how they captured that? This is your parking lot enforcement right here. This is your police. This is your, tax. This is your, well, we gotta talk about tax. Man, I'm so busy, I don't have time for that. This principle was confirmed by the 1898 Supreme Court case United States versus Wong Kim Ark, which clarified that children born in the U.S. to immigrant parents are citizens, regardless of their parents' immigration status. The U.S. employs a combination of unrestricted birthplace based on citizenship, restricted ancestry-based ship globally. So they basically came over here, took this law, and because they needed to build their skyscrapers and have somebody babysit and mow their lawn and renovate their home, meaning upgrade it to a $1 million home, they came over here and they saw the 14th Amendment and they went and talked to the lawyers and said, how could we switch this around? And I hate that word black. Get it out of here. And they came over here, this is what they came up with. They came up with this. What is that? And you're gonna read that this is what they gave the illegal immigrants to read. So you got the blacks and the illegal immigrants fighting each other, and the people who are behind this, we're not gonna say no names, they're watching and just laughing and hoping that, they could control the fire until it gets out of control. And now the fire is out of control, and they're like, no, we're looking at this and saying, wait a minute. You said what? Ancestor-based citizenship? what? Where is this from? Where's the law? Who made this? And then they're gonna quote court case United States versus Wong Kong Ark. Let's see what happened here. United States versus Wong decided in 1898 is a landmark Supreme Court case that affirmed the principle of birthright citizenship in the United States as enshrined in the 14th Amendment. The case established that anyone born within the United States, regardless of their parents' citizenship or immigration status, is a U.S. citizen. This decision solidified the concept of just. They just copied that from. That's the same word we read right now. So they use in this case. Let's see what it says here. Jeez. Okay, so this guy wanted to come over to. So this Asian guy, 1898, wanted to come over. It reads, all persons born naturally in the United States. Okay. In San Francisco, they were Chinese citizens. Wait. The Supreme Court addressed the meaning of this key provision in the United States versus Wong Kim Ark. Wong Kim Ark was born in San Francisco to parents who were both Chinese citizens. What does that mean? So that means that they weren't United States citizens; they were Chinese citizens. Were they on a visa? Were they on a workers permit? Because they didn't break no law with them being here. At age 21, he took a trip to China to visit his parents. Okay, so wait a minute. Did Wong Kim Ark come here illegally? Was he born here? What? Wait, I don't understand. I'm confused. So you're saying that his parents are Chinese citizens, so they had him here in the United States and went back to China? Or Wong Kim Ark came here at age 21 and didn't go back? Okay, he was denied entry on the grounds that he was not a U.S. citizen. In a 6-2 decision, the court ruled in favor of Wong Kim Ark because he was born in the United States and his parents were not employed in any diplomatic or official capacity under the Emperor of China. The citizenship clause of the 14th Amendment automatically made him a U.S. citizen. This case highlighted disagreement between the justice over the precise meaning of one key phrase in the citizenship clause, subject to jurisdiction thereof. What happened in that courtroom was not right because, first of all, I gotta look into this more. I don't want to hold you guys up. So that's what they're using. And you gotta be careful. This is what they say. You give them an inch, they take them out. And they sure did. This is how it started. You let them slip, you go. You opened it for one, not all of them came in. The Constitution is clear. Those born on American soil, even to undocumented parents, are citizens of the United States. What Constitution? He didn't even tell the Constitution. I'm shocked, Professor. Okay. Almost immediately after Donald Trump was sworn in on January 20th, the second-term president issued a series of executive orders, including the touch of birthright citizenship, a constitutional provision that guarantees that those born without a bondage to the United States automatically attain American. Okay, same stuff. So you see what we're dealing with right here, and we saw that it says that men as part of its Reconstruction program to guarantee equal civil and legal rights to black citizens. A major provision of the 14th Amendment was to grant citizenship to all persons born and naturalized in the United States, thereby granting citizenship to formerly enslaved people. Now they're gonna say it didn't say just two. That Trump's party is gonna come back and say, well, if you come in illegally, it's illegally. You cannot come in illegally and then have kids and say birthright citizenship because you broke the law coming in on entry. Because it's like, I know what he's talking about. I don't know what the term is. It's like when you get when you got bad money and then you put it into the system, you wash it. It's called money laundering, and you have your techniques and ways, and then boom, you get inside the system. Now your money is illegal tender, and you can start buying stuff and purchasing properties and pushing your business and your interest. Well, the feds come along 15 years later and say, hey, who the hell is this guy? What's this? We got a killing right here. Where'd he get his money from? How did he even get in? He don't even speak the English. You know? How did he get in? He's waving another flag. How did he get in? He don't even like American people. So, I mean, what could you say? What can you say? You know, because the law is being broken. It's being broken, and it's hard to say. Now, the only thing that the Hispanic community got is numbers. That's all they got is numbers. That's a lot. But that's more jobs for Trump, and he likes that. He sees that as more jobs, so he's ready to go all the way. And he's shooting for another 4 terms, 4 years in there. And, you know, there's a lot of reasons why he's doing this. This is to ensure his second, what do you call it? 4 years, his second term, because he served his first term when he was president in 2016. He really only served 2 years because the Democrats were all up in the White House. He says or does something or doesn't support something. Look, they took away all his security guards, all the White House staff, and left him in the White House, no protection. They turn the lights off. They do crazy things to him. I was like, Trump, just go back to the Twin Towers and do everything from the Twin Towers. You got your own security. You know where everything's going on. But he got to be at the White House. And they're harassing him. You okay? Chuck Schumer and Pelosi were up there every day, you know, giving him help. You know, now he's in again. They're not giving him help, but the military industry is like, you know, let's forget about the United States and let's focus on Israel and getting Iran, which, you know, is a special interest to the Persian community. So we see right here that it says it's for black people. It's for United States citizens. And you coming in illegally, having kids and making them United States citizens, you know, this is going to be a hard fire to put out.
Down its final decision of the term yesterday, the most significant involving President Trump's birthright citizenship order. Julia Benbrook is outside the court with the details of what that ruling, with the details on that ruling and how justices responded to it.
In a 6-3 ruling, the conservative majority backed President Donald Trump's efforts to curtail lower federal courts from issuing nationwide injunctions that have served as a roadblock to his agenda for months, but left the fate of his divisive executive order on birthright citizenship unclear. The High Court's decision was a significant win for Trump, and it could have lasting implications, not only for the remainder of his term, but also for future presidents of both parties. In the majority opinion, Justice Amy Coney...
Trump, she looked like a man. You could tell that she looked like her father. You know, that's so messed up, man. You being in love with her, like, you know, she looked pretty, she looked nice, and then you see her, and then she looked just like her dad. It's just that she got long hair, and that messes with you, because you're like, oh, you know, that's transgender. That's like, oh my God. It's just that she's a real female, you know, she got a hip and a butt and breasts, you know, she's not fake though, but you know, I've seen her a lot, it's funny.
Barrett wrote, quote, when a court concludes the executive branch has acted unlawfully, the answer is not for the court to exceed its power to.
Wait, when a court, hold on. When a court concludes that the executive branch has acted unlawful, the answer is not for the court to exceed its power. Ah, you know what? Damn, man, these law terms get me so messed up.
In a dissent, Justice Sonia Sotomayor warned that under the ruling, no right is safe in the new legal regime the court creates. Writing today, the threat is to birthright citizenship. Tomorrow, a different administration may try to seize firearms from law-abiding citizens or prevent people of certain faiths from gathering to worship. There were several other major rulings on Friday. The court also ruled that religious parents can opt their children out of the reading of LGBTQ books in school, and upheld a Texas law that requires age verification for pornographic websites. And in the latest legal challenge to Obamacare to reach the High Court, the court upheld a task force that recommends preventive health care services that insurers must cover at no cost. Every year, the Supreme Court tries to finish its work by July, but it is unusual to see so many highly watched cases on the final decision day. In Washington, I'm Julia Benbrook.
Let's check this one out.
Continue our breaking news coverage of the flurry of decisions issued by the Supreme Court as it wraps its 2024 to 2025 session. Today, a major ruling on President Trump's use of an executive order to end birthright citizenship in the U.S. We begin there with CBS News immigration and politics reporter Camilo Montoya Galvez. Camilo, thank you for joining us today. Tell us about some of the real-world ramifications of today's rulings.
Good morning, Mugo. Well, this could very well prove to be a major legal victory for the Trump administration's aggressive efforts to change long-standing federal policy, including on immigration. Because as you know, Mugo, because we have discussed these rulings on multiple occasions, nationwide injunctions have become a major legal obstacle for the administration's immigration agenda, with judges across the country blocking many of its efforts.
You see, when Ross was running for presidency and they threatened his daughter, and then he quit the campaign, I was like, oh my God, that's foul. How are you gonna quit? I mean, that's not a fighter, you know? Trump over here being thrown in jail, and he's still going for presidency. You see what I mean? There's a different persona, a different status, you know? You gotta fight.
Including, obviously, on its attempt to deny birthright citizenship to the children of immigrants who are here illegally, and also on temporary visas. But this ruling, which of course curbs, curtails, and limits these nationwide injunctions by federal judges, could really paved the way for the administration, Mugo, to follow through on many of these policy changes. The caveat, of course, in this specific case is that the legal question about whether or not birthright citizenship and the administration's attempt...
Look, it's not their fault. It's not the illegal immigrants. It's not the Mexicans. It's not the Salvador. It's not the Honduras. It's not their fault, because all the corruption starts from we're at the top. It's China, you know, it's the Democratic Party. And if you do your research, you'll know who the Democratic Party are. They're internationals. They're your Nigerians, your Honduras, You're Kenyans. You're Mexican. You're El Salvador. You know, you're Persian. You're Turkish. You're Syrian. You know, this is an international party, and then what do, they see all the problems, all the corruption. I don't want to deal with that. They branch out and become a republic, but they become a cold republic, a silent republic. A lot of Republicans who are foreigners, they don't vote. A lot of them don't vote. You know. Because if a lot of these immigrants who become citizens vote, Republicans will always win. Because we see that the Democrats, they have an objective and it's a special interest. You see, it's not for the people, it's just for them, and we've seen it. Because who's always making money? The Democrats. And the people are forced to cut their wages, or forced to put on masks, stay in their home, and now they're attempting to pass. They want to put us into a system where we all get paid the same. You know, they decide how much we get paid every month, no matter what our job is. So. This is the Democratic way, and they're what? They're protected by who? The Ku Klux Klan, white supremacists. It's in your face. I mean, look at Gavin Newsom. Let's look at Gavin Newsom over here. I think Gavin Newsom is Persian. Not sure. Oh, I hate this commercial. Okay. Gavin Newsom is the governor of California. I worked with his family member that branches out somewhere else in the family tree, but they have direct talk to him. Like, they could walk up and talk to Gavin Newsom if they want, you know. So yes, he brought this guy over. This guy over who's white supremacist, and then he brought another guy. Oh, let me check his channel. So he got his own podcast going on right now. This is Gavin Newsom. How do you get 99 subscribers? He just started. 70 videos. Getting paid. Oh wow, I didn't know he had. Yeah, so he had a couple people on here, and some people were talking about it. How could you invite those people? But, you know, it was during the time of the protest and the rioting. So, Gavin Newsom.
Ruling did not directly address the issue of birthright citizenship. It leaves hundreds of thousands of families here in the U.S. in legal limbo, as the administration argues it does not apply to illegal immigrants. For more, I'm joined by our immigration reporter, Camilo Montoya Galvez. Good to see you here. So what could this mean for birthright citizenship? Because I think that a lot of people are looking at that. There's a number of people in this country who are here by way of parents who were born in this country, but we know that this administration has tried to make that distinction.
Well, if it takes effect, Jerika, the president's proclamation would deny birthright citizenship to the children of people who are in the country illegally, but also immigrants who are here on temporary visas, such as tourists or business travelers. But again, that is a very big if, and the Supreme Court is allowing the Department of Homeland Security and state to develop and issue guidance to enforce this proclamation if the courts allow it to take effect. On paper, his proclamation is set to take effect in the next 30 days, but as Jessica explained, there's going to be litigation across the country throughout federal courts to decide the question of whether it's actually constitutional and legal. But it is important to note that some organizations have already filed class action lawsuits to try to block it through a different legal mechanism. And judge after judge, Jerika, has already found that this is likely at odds with the U.S. Constitution.
What does this mean for non-citizens who either have or are planning to have children here?
It's a critical question. We know that this is causing a lot of uncertainty and confusion because this order, if enacted again, would apply to a very significant number of people. One study found that 250,000 babies, if this is enacted, would be born here without U.S. citizenship each year. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of babies annually. So this is a really significant population. And not only would they be born without U.S. citizenship, but without access to key benefits and services.
Man, all over the whole Southern California is Hispanics. Since the mid 1980s, it's been they got babies, the babies got babies, and the babies have babies. And when you go to all the schools in Southern California, it's all Hispanics. It's like so many of them that they had to like use the warehouses and homes as schools because there's so many of them. It's out of control.
And they would become part of the broader undocumented population.
And I understand before you go, you have new reporting about Haitian migrants in this country and Trump administration ending certain protections.
The Trump administration is terminating the temporary protected status legal program for hundreds of thousands of Haitian immigrants who are living in the U.S.
Yes, that was put on by the Democratic Party that passed it to protect the Haitians after the border guards had, well, they came in illegally. They were doing their job.
And who currently are protected from deportation. But starting on September 2nd, they will be forced to leave the country voluntarily or become undocumented and potentially face arrest and deportation. The administration is telling these Haitians, about 350,000 of them, to leave now or face arrest and deportation.
Did they know?
Okay, if there's one AI site builder you need to meet, it's this dope tech from Wix.
Did they know? They're victims. They're told one thing and then all of a sudden, 20 years later, what? I gotta leave?
Ruling hands Donald Trump yet another green light in his crusade to unravel the foundations of American democracy. His plan to end birthright citizenship is blatantly unconstitutional, but instead of stopping in its tracks, the court has instead ducked the question.
He's not stopping birthright citizenship. I don't know why they keep on you got to be careful. This is what they're saying is an error. Then you're going to go into it and start getting all involved in it, not knowing that you're being set up. This is a setup. Trump is not ending birthright citizenship. Trump is enforcing birthright citizenship, saying that what? Congress submitted to the state 3 amendments as part of its Reconstruction program to guarantee equal civil and legal rights to black citizens. A major provision of the 14th Amendment was to grant citizenship to all persons born or naturalized in the United States, thereby granting citizenship to formerly enslaved people. Okay, so it said all persons, but then it came down here and said enslaved people. So let's see what all persons born. Wait, let's see. All persons, what does that mean? You gotta look up these terms, because you gotta look them up, because in law they tell you that even if you know what the word means, to look it up, because their term. Huh? What the fuck? All persons. In general, person refers to an individual human being, while people is the plural form of person and often used to refer to a group of individuals. However, person can also be used as a plural, particularly in formal or legal contexts, emphasize individuals rather than a collective group. It says individuals instead of a collective group. Individual. So when it said a person, ooh, okay. So you see what I mean? That's why you gotta look it up. A person. I think a lot of people are online. So my internet started moving slow. Okay, so he said all persons there. You see that? Okay. It says all person. So when it says all person, a single individual born or naturalized in the United States, thereby granting citizenship to formerly enslaved people. Let's look this up real quick. I apologize, guys. That's why you gotta look. You're gonna read all persons, and then you're gonna say, "Oh, it meant for everybody." But what did it say? It says a person's a single individual. People, the most common plural form of persons used in everyday language, refer to a group of individuals. Yeah, so and the individuals were enslaved people. I know this is not the 14th Amendment, but this is a summary. Enslaved people refer to individuals. Oh, it said individuals again. Individuals, persons, person, a single individual, who are held in slavery.
Some things belong on the big screen.
You see that?
Watch YouTube on your TV.
The term emphasized that slavery is an imposed status, highlighted the forced nature of their condition rather than defining them solely by their bondage. Oh. The term emphasized that slavery is an imposed status, highlighting the forced nature of their condition rather than defining them solely by their bondage. Oh, so their condition was slavery, their bondage. Yes. I knew this already. Trump is right. This is what he's enforcing. He's enforcing this right here that we just read. That's what he's enforcing. And this guy over here is saying that his plan to end birthright citizenship. No, it's not. Because we just saw right here. He said it. He said, yeah, it's for.
I've seen such happiness and spirit. Sometimes you don't see that, but this case is very important. I was elected on a historic mandate, but in recent months we've seen a handful of radical left judges effectively try to overrule the rightful powers of the president to stop the American people from getting the policies that they voted for in record numbers. It was a grave threat to democracy, frankly, and instead of merely ruling on the immediate cases before them, these judges have attempted to
You see, before he will say democracy and I'll say republic, but I was wrong, because that's the United States corporation. You can't. That their corporation working inside America, which is a republic. You would have to go to the United States of America, which is in Philadelphia. That's a different corporation. So,
the law for the entire nation. In practice, this meant that if any one of the nearly 700 federal judges disagreed with the policy of a duly elected president of the United States, he or she could block that policy from going into effect, or at least delay it for many years, tied up in the court system.
I hope.
This was a colossal abuse of power which never occurred in American history prior to recent decades. And we've been hit with more nationwide injunctions than were issued in the entire 20th century together. Think of it, more than the entire 20th century.
Yeah, I can't find it.
Court has to correct it, but that takes time. The Attorney General thanked our lawyers, and I'll do it again. Our lawyers are working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to fight these injunctions and to emergency appeals.
Wait a minute. What does it say? What is birthright citizenship? Citizenship granted to what? What's the enshrined in the 14th Amendment of the. Damn. Who put this
emergency
up here?
stays, going back to the district court judge, asking them to change their view, and so their hard work is really paying off today, but over the past few weeks. We had a stay of an order that prevented DHS from moving aliens to a third country. We had a stay of an order that stopped the Department of Defense from implementing military readiness, the EO that President Trump signed. We had another stay of an order
ambitions with nuclear weapons, or what you would like to see from them to prove that they do.
Sometimes you don't see that, but this
Let's see what he said at the beginning. Where did he say it?
Seen such happiness and spirit. Sometimes you don't see that, but this case is very important. I was elected on a historic for the Constitution, the separation of powers, and the rule of law. In striking down the excessive use of nationwide injunctions to interfere with the normal functioning of the executive branch, the Supreme Court has stopped the presidency itself. That's what they've done. And really, it's been an amazing period of time this last hour. There are people elated all over the country. I've seen such happiness.
I don't know what he meant by stop the presidency. What? Congress? Wait, let me see. What did he say?
Spirit. Sometimes you don't see that, but this case is very important. I was elected on a historic mandate, but in recent months we've seen decided to run. I only decided to run.
You can make all the money you want in the world, but you'll
And I only decided to run because I saw what was happening, and Biden was incompetent, and the administration was crooked and incompetent. And I was in Bitcoin then, not knowing if I was going to do it.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Bitcoin. My Bitcoin got stolen. The T-Mobile data breach. Oh my God. Oh. Legal history of the 14th Amendment. After the Civil War that divided America into the United States and the Confederacy, Congress worked to rebuild the South during a period known as Reconstruction, 1865 to 1877. From these efforts emerged a Civil War amendment, the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, which sought equality for incapacitated slaves. The 14th Amendment recognized the citizenship of freed slaves. The Emancipation, remember, it doesn't say black, it says slaves. That President Abraham Lincoln issued in 1863 freed the slaves who lived in the Confederate States. Now, why do they have to free them? Because they had bonds on them, because they're property. So they'll say, oh, this is, we put a bond on him, we put a lien on him. So they have it's like a birth certificate, and they could trade that. They in their private party, they know how to create money. So they're gonna take you're gonna come to them. They're gonna say, okay, they kidnapped you, they bought you, or they just brought you, and you're in the South, because that's where you could do it. You couldn't do it anywhere else. So when the Democrats are preaching every black people was a slave, no, they were not. Now, they will get you. Then they'll print out their birth certificate for you, but it'll be a bond certificate, property. Hold on, please. A bond slave is a term that can refer to someone held in bondage, essentially a slave. It can also refer to a bond servant, which is some context, particularly biblical one, describing someone who had been offered freedom, chooses to remain in service to the master out. Whatever. Bond slave. Let me see. See, it'll be like this, right? So they say, okay, yeah, we got a strong guy over here, pretty big, you know. We say that he can produce
With a bachelor's in
what?
theology, and I work in the position here that I'm at as an assistant pastor. I got exposed to
basically, hold on, please. Basically, they'll take that certificate that you see right there, and they will say, okay, this person could produce, I'm going to use small numbers, 100,000 a year. Okay, so we got this certificate for 100,000 a year. Now that person has to create 100,000 a year. Now say the next year he does 150,000 a year. So the bond goes up. This guy can produce 150,000 resource a year, you know. So your certificate goes up. So you're like a share. You're like a share. So the union had to pay this off to free the enslaved. Okay. Here we go. Union had to pay slaveholders. Yes, in some instances, the union did provide compensation to slaveholders for the compensation of enslaved people. Specifically, the District of Columbia Compensated and Emancipated Act of 1862 freed enslaved people in Washington, D.C. and provided compensation to their owners. The act offered up to $300 per enslaved person. And back then, $300 was a lot of money. $300 is like $80,000 or something back then. So, you know, milk was only what, 5 cents. Loaf of bread was 35 cents. And everything was in the cents, you know. Something's coming out of state, yeah, they're gonna put $1 or $2 on it because of tariffs and so forth. But it's still the same. The guy lived in the country. He bought meat, eggs, milk, everything for $9. $9. He got meat that could last him 5 days or 7, the whole week. He got milk. He got a couple of other items. All came up to $9. You see. So that's how. So $300 was a lot of money. I mean, it wasn't even $9. Like back then, that would have only been like $2 or maybe $1 just to get all that. You know. So this is what happened. So that's why they had to free them. That's why they had to pay them off. You see. So this 14th Amendment has a history behind it, and I don't see nowhere where it talks about illegal immigrants. It says here, Congress, John A. Bingham of Ohio, the primary author of the first section of the 14th Amendment, intended that the amendment also nationalize the Bill of Rights by making it binding upon the states. When introduced the amendment, Senator Jacob Howard of Michigan specifically stated that the privilege of immunity clause would extend to the states, the personal rights guaranteed and secured by the First 8th Amendment. Okay, I don't know what's going on there. Not only did the 14th Amendment fail to extend the Bill of Rights to the states, it also failed to protect the rights of black citizens. A legacy reconstruct. Okay, why would it support black citizens? It said slavery. So what, you were trying to get protective rights for blacks? Basically, like what the Asians got. You know, they in 2023 they passed the Asian Protection Act. I think that's what it was going to do. But something happened. See, when it comes to these stuff, you're like, oh, why did they pick this? You have to go back and find out why they did not, because you can't just be hating on them. You know, you have to find out what's going on. Why. Look at this guy over here. Look what he said. He said his plan to end birth citizenship. Trump is not trying to end birth citizenship. He's enforcing birth citizenship. And what he's enforcing is the 14th Amendment, which states, you know, who it belongs to. That's all he's doing. Executive Order, January 20, 2025. Any child born on or after February 1925 to parents who are either illegally present or here on temporary visas is excluded from U.S. citizenship at birth. On June 26, the Supreme Court ruled the lower court do not have authority to issue nationwide injunctions limiting them to plaintiffs who sued. Oh, wow. California will challenge it. January 20, 2025. Executive order. Donald J. Trump. That's it right here. Well, I mean, it doesn't look like that. That guy just made it up. President Trump says that administration will now run full steam ahead to fully ban birthright citizenship following the Scottish rule. It's not banned. I don't know why they're saying ban. These are trollers. That was meant. Oh yeah. See, does he say it here?
Had come into the country on a vacation. This was a nationwide this decision, and thanks to this decision, we can now promptly file to proceed with numerous policies that have been wrongly enjoined on a nationwide basis. And some of the cases we're talking about would be ending birthright citizenship, which now comes to the fore. That was meant for the babies of slaves. It wasn't meant for people trying to scam the system and come into the country on a vacation. This was, in fact, it was the same date, the exact same date, the end of the Civil War. It was meant for the babies of slaves, and it's so clean and so obvious.
I know.
But this lets us go there and finally win that case, because hundreds of thousands of people are pouring into our country under birthright citizenship, and it wasn't meant for that reason. It was meant for the babies of slaves.
I've read the 14th Amendment.
So thanks to this decision,
if I read it to you guys are going to fall asleep.
To proceed with
but this is what it means. You can look it up yourself.
Those that have been wrongly enjoined on a nationwide basis, including birthright citizenship, ending sanctuary city funding, suspending refugee resettlement, freezing unnecessary funding, stopping federal taxpayers from paying for transgender surgeries, and numerous other priorities of the American people.
Let's listen to it again.
We have so many of them. I have all policies. And
see, when they say Trump is banning, this is what they're talking about. This is what they're talking about when they said that Trump is banning.
Thousands of people are pouring into
birthright citizenship. This is what they're talking about that he's banning when Democrats talk.
Under birthright citizenship, and it wasn't meant for that reason. It was meant for the babies of slaves. So thanks to this decision, we can now
this is what they're talking
to
about.
Proceed with these numerous policies.
When they talk about banning.
Those that have been wrongly enjoined on a nationwide basis, including birthright citizenship, ending sanctuary city funding.
That's what he's banning.
Suspending refugee resettlement.
That's what he's
freezing unnecessary funding, stopping federal taxpayers from paying for transgender surgeries, and numerous other priorities.
That is not the 14th Amendment.
We have so many of them. I have a whole list. I'm not going to bore you, and I'm going to have
LGBTQ.
Pam get up and say a few words, but there's really, she can talk as long as she wants, because this is a very important decision. This is a decision that covers a tremendous amount of territory. But I want to just thank again the Supreme Court for this ruling. It's a giant. It's a giant. And they should be very...
You see, this is why people go and shoot up the school. Whether it's fixed or whatever. I mean... You see, this is what I'm talking about. They come around with a big-ass bill. It's loaded with a lot of BS. It will be for the vehicles, auto air emission, and then it'll have, in the bill, it'll be a big old stack, maybe like that, 800 pages, all full of BS. And in the little areas, like on the 250th page, it will have, we can bring illegal immigrants for transgender changes. You know what I mean? If somebody has a kid from another country and bring them here, we could do we own them, and we could do transgender changes on them. They have stuff like that. You have to read everything. You have to get like 10 people and you guys read 50-page each and highlight everything and then go back and ask questions because you got 3 days before signing. And then you have another 3 days to cancel. That's why they have that, because these people come with these contracts. You just want to sign it and go home to your family. You don't know what you're signing. You see?
Very proud, and our country should be very proud of the Supreme Court today.
Not that nothing against LGBTQ. June 29th. Where's this? So this is the Supreme Court. See? You see how they say Trump ends? You gotta repeat. You gotta know. You gotta know. You gotta know how the Democrats move. You gotta know how trickery, magic, sorcerer, wizard, druids. So now we see what's going on. Trump is just banning all that stuff that don't belong in the 14th Amendment. That is not part of the 14th Amendment, all that stuff they had in there. What's going on here? Just looking.
Great ideas can come from anywhere.
Yeah, so
You decide where they go.
I like to look at what the people are saying, the comments here. Let's see if TikTok's working. I heard that they're going after
In 30
TikTok
days
again.
from now, people born in the U.S.
Go on.
no longer automatically be American.
What is wrong with TikTok on my phone, on my desktop? What the hell? Back to X. If you could reason with a Democrat, there wouldn't be any Democrats. That's so true. They're internationals. That's why. You gotta understand. You gotta take psychology 1, 2, 3, and 4, because that'll help you clear your mind and understand for every action,
In 30 days from now, people born in the U.S. will no longer automatically be Americans. You will have to have an American father or mother, or have a father or mother with a green card. This means undocumented migrants and foreign visitors will no longer be able to give birth to someone and have that child get American citizenship. Donald Trump made this rule a couple of months ago, and it was put on hold by federal courts. But as of this morning, the Supreme Court announced in just the past couple of minutes that Trump's rule for citizenship will take effect. It is common for something called birth tourism to happen in America until 30 days from now. It's not explicitly made illegal by a federal law, but the people in charge of tourist visas in America have updated their regulations to deny tourist visas to people whose primary purpose for travel is birth tourism. And now Donald Trump's rule applies too.
Oh, the Asian community. That's the Asian community. He's talking about the Asian community when he says that. I didn't give it no heart. He's talking about the Asian community. Wow. Damn, what is TikTok loading? What is it? Oh, no. No. Oh, no. I'm done with TikTok. What just happened? Oh, you know what? You're giving me up. I'm live and you're doing all this. It has to be so embarrassing to be a Democrat right now. Ooh, yeah, I don't know if they're embarrassed. I think if you don't know them, they're not in there. I was going to suggest you quit acting stupid, then I realized you're likely not acting. Yeah, these people are talking. What? Their father was a U.S. citizen. It says here, virtue of natural law and the United States, this will not, of course, include persons born. Any children, yeah. Oh. I didn't really know who this guy, I thought this guy was a Republican.
537 has been filed because I believe that the President of the United States has committed an impeachable act. HRES 537 has been filed because I believe that the President of the United States has committed an impeachable act. HRES 537 has been filed because I believe that the President of the United States has committed an impeachable act. HRES 537 has been filed because I believe that the President of the United States has committed an impeachable act.
Oh, that's it. That's it. All right, guys. Thanks for coming by. You know, that's it. I mean, we're just reading about the 14th Amendment here. We saw what Trump said. We read the bills. We read the 14th Amendment. We defined terms and definitions. You know, and it came up to the point that the 14th Amendment was for those slaves. Now, it did not say black, it said slaves. So, it could be anybody, for those individuals who were slaves. And we saw it right there. You know what, you guys have a good day. Sorry for keeping you up late, or good morning, wherever you are. Share, like, subscribe. And chat. When watching me, chat. You know, let me know what's going on. You know, alright guys, have a good day.